This is the Stolendroids Podcast. I'm Jake.
I'm Collin.
I'm Marlee.
And I'm last.
I love how you're hiding, like the people who are watching the video can't see it at all.
Well, the people who are watching are in for a friggin' treat.
Yeah, that's right. And that's a good point because this is actually going to go on YouTube. I know we've been promising it for weeks and weeks and weeks. But now it's actually going to happen. What is the air quotes for? What are we air quoting?
Nothing. For people not watching the video, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. All right. Well, today for our topic, well, first of all, how are you guys doing? How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. We'll sleep deprived, but keeping along.
So
I'm sorry, I didn't expect you to ask me how I was. I'm just really touched.
Wow. I think normally we record at night at the end of the day. Apparently this is what you get early in the morning from us. It's like, oh, what's going on? Oh, hey.
What?
It's a wonderful time to be alive, Jakey Jake.
Nice. I like it, Zach. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for using my proper name too. You can see
That
Jakey
counts.
Jake. Yep. All right, so today we're
Bunch
talking
of construction going on outside my window, so every now and then you guys might hear like really loud or mariachi music.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, I'm with you.
And that's not a stereotype. That's just what
This particular crew seems
this
to like
crew enjoys listening to.
Yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine.
This is how it is.
I thought you were going to say there's a lot of construction going on. So if we hear any baby noises, it's probably the construction that sounds strangely like babies.
Oh yeah, there is quite a bit of that, because there have been a lot of noise complaints. I guess the HOA figured, why don't we use tractors that sound like babies?
It's smart. It's smart. People won't complain because you can't complain about a baby.
I know. It's like,
Exactly.
he doesn't know any better. Blame it on the parents, really.
I personally blame it on the rain.
I blame it on the alcohol, baby.
All right. So today we're talking sidekicks. When I think of sidekicks, I think of, there's a lot that I think about. But
Kicking to the side instead of the front.
yeah, exactly. That's part of it.
About.
Yeah.
End of podcast. Good night, everybody.
And there it is. That's it.
Sidekicks done.
Sidekicks all done. That's all we need to say. No, I think of Sky High, right? Where they're going through and everybody's showing off their powers. Have you guys seen Sky High?
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Of course.
All right. Just want to make sure. But when they're all showing off their powers and the gym coach is like putting them in as heroes or putting them in as sidekicks and like nobody wants to be a sidekick. And the main character, of course, ends up being a sidekick because he doesn't really have any powers. Like, sidekicks are supposed to be lame, but are they really? And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Are sidekicks really as lame as we think they are? Or are they actually pretty heroic and in some cases even more heroic than the hero? Maybe. I don't know. Collin, you look like you have doubts.
I don't have any doubts.
That's his go-to face.
Because all I need to do is say one person's name and I win.
All right. What's the one person's name?
His one person's name is
Analyze
Dick.
Gamgee.
Oh, I was way off.
No!
That was mine. Seriously, top of my list.
Hold on.
I mean-
so do you guys know where the word sidekick even comes from?
No.
Tell us, Zach.
These educate us.
This is coming straight off of Wikipedia. So take it.
So you know it's true.
So you know it's true. So it's believed to have originated in pickpocket slang. Late 19th and 20th century. The kick was the front pocket of a pair of trousers, and believed to be the pocket safest from theft. Thus, by analogy, a sidekick was a person's closest companion.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
So, like, I am Collin's front pocket.
Yeah, we should definitely stick with sidekick instead of front pocket because that sounds weird for some reason.
Yeah, you couldn't have Batman walking around with, "This is my boy wonder, my front pocket."
Yeah. No, wait, hold on. There's already enough questions there.
We need to talk about this.
So I think we need to talk about Samwise Gamgee, but not yet because I do think he's a good example of a sidekick who's like way heroic. But what about, I think the classic sidekick has got to be Robin. You mentioned him, Zach, already, being Batman's front pocket. But I like the Robin character, and honestly, I like Batman with Robin better than Batman without. I think he does a lot to enhance the character of Batman.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we haven't seen Robin in the movies for a while.
I agree. Like,
well, especially after the last movie where we got that little tiny teaser of Robin. And
But not Robin with Batman. It was Robin very clearly without Batman.
correct.
Well,
did you guys see Lego Batman though?
yeah,
Oh,
and that Robin was fantastic.
Yes. Oh my goodness, he's all doe-eyed.
have
My
you guys
name's Richard Branson, but the other children call me Dick. Children can be so cruel.
I need to go watch this now. It's been a while.
It's so funny, but it's
so great.
It's so true. You see, the thing with Robin, original Robin, Dick Grayson, is it gave Batman a greater purpose, right? Because for a long time he was the Dark Knight on his own, brood on gargoyles, and then all of a sudden he had this young ward with short shorts who was very much like him. He had parents who were killed tragically. He was an orphan, and he could do backflips. And so Batman takes this kid under his wing, I think reluctantly at first, and then you have Robin, and then you see Batman growing as a character. So I think you're definitely right. Batman with Robin is better. But then you see Robin grow under the tutelage of Batman, and soon he becomes Nightwing. And I think Nightwing, in many ways, is a better person than Batman. And if you read the comics, that's what Bruce Wayne believes as well. He believes that if you took the attitude and what's the word I want to use? I guess the attitude and way of dealing with things of Superman and put it in Batman, you would get Nightwing.
Yep, I agree. And that's one of the things that I've always liked about the Nightwing character a little bit more than Batman is he's got all the skills. He's a great detective. He's super smart, all of that, but he's not so dark and down in the dumps all the time and dreary. And, he's gone through a lot in his life too, but because Bruce took him in and gave him the stability that Bruce didn't really have growing up after his parents were murdered, Dick grew up very differently and was able to adjust a little bit better and be a little bit more stable. Because Batman, I don't know that you could call Batman stable. Didn't turn out so well for his second boy wonder, Jason Todd. Not such a happy ending.
Negative. But it again showed, well, for one thing, that was the fans' fault. Okay,
I know, which is the most horrible thing in comic book history ever. Like, should we kill off Robin? Yes, call in, pay money. Yes, kill him off. We don't need him.
So Robin gets killed off. But again, that was such a defining moment for Batman. Was the death of his ward, but not really.
Yep, because then he comes
back.
Not
a spoiler alert. This has been around for like 10 years. Jason Todd.
Yeah. It's like, what? Jason Todd's not really dead? Yeah, pick up a comic. Yeah, Red Hood comes back.
And the current Robin, Damian, is his flesh and blood, is his son.
Yes. with
And-
Talia al Ghul.
And
Mhm.
very, very all
Ooh.
about bloodlust.
And that's the thing is, this Robin is. I mean, Jason Todd was kind of a hothead.
Yeah.
But this Robin is the first one who's like, kill, right? Because he was raised by the League of Shadows. And so now you have a Batman trying to like dial back his son sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
Is this in the comics still? Are you still
Yes.
talking?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
still in the comics.
It's in the comics and it's in some of their like random short
What's-
movies.
Yeah, it's been in some of the new DC animated movies, and I think in the Harley
They're
Quinn
actually
animated
pretty
series.
damn good.
Yeah, they are actually.
Yeah, they
And
are.
in the-
They're better than most of DC's live action movies. And by most of, I mean pretty much all of them except Wonder Woman. Aquaman was pretty solid too.
You're talking about the current iteration, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not talking like Dark Knight trilogy obviously is a fantastic trilogy. And
I feel
the
like
old
it's like its
Richard
own
Donner
thing.
yeah,
It is.
it is. It's totally its own thing. Green Lantern, of course, was a masterpiece, and everyone should go see that a million times.
Ryan Reynolds would agree with you.
Yeah, 100%.
I've never seen it.
It's really
That's
not great.
probably for the best.
I know.
It's really not great.
Yeah.
So I think Robin, I mean, when you say sidekick, I think he's one of the names that pops in there. And really, when you look at the sidekicks that came in the comic books after Robin, they were all loosely based, at least in look and in style. I mean, you look at Bucky Barnes, who is very similar in look and style to Robin. You look at Kid Flash, Aqualad. I mean, I feel like you're dooming someone from the start when you name them Aqualad instead of
Speedy.
Lad.
Speedy was another one who was just like a Robin Hood version of Robin. So, and so you see these kind of come in, and I think at the time the comic book creators, because they knew they were writing stories for kids, they felt like this was a good way to connect with the younger audience by having these young boys be kind of superheroes in training and these sidekicks. But now it's kind of become this joke of the sidekick doesn't really know what they're doing. They're not very good, even though there's a lot of examples of that not being the case. You look at, even DC's done it. The Teen Titans is a great example. You've got as far as in comics, you've got Young Justice, which was a great series where these were all basically the sidekicks of these major superheroes who were superheroes in their own right. And then you look in popular media and we look at a lot of sidekicks out there, and they're not kind of the lovable losers that we kind of think of them as. And I think you look at the 1960s Batman TV series, and that's where we really kind of see Robin as kind of being this dork that kind of hangs on there for a while in that image. But really in comics and in other movies, that's not always the case with the sidekicks at all. They're not these lovable dorks, but they're actually very capable and very handy to have around. Samwise Gamgee is the ultimate example of a sidekick who in many ways was just as heroic, if not more, than the main hero being Frodo.
Well, and there's a lot of argument out there that Samwise is the real protagonist of the shows, or the story, I should say, because obviously it came from books. And I mean, I don't really dive too deep into those like arguments because I'm just like, you know what? I love Lord of the Rings. Like, I just love all of it, like whatever. But I mean, there definitely is a point to that, you know, because like Frodo, he would have just, you know, he would have succumbed to the ring a long, long time ago if it wasn't for having Sam right there.
Or Gollum would have killed him.
Or that too. Yeah, that too.
Yes. Sam always saw through Gollum and knew that he wasn't ever trustworthy at all. I love the character of Sam because I feel like to me, he's the character that we can all strive to be. And at the same time, he's also a character that we can all identify with really easily because he's not looking for adventure. He's not like this big, brave, I'm going to stand in front of any fire kind of a character, except when he needs to be. And it's only when it's stuff that matters, right? Like, you know, when it's protecting Frodo, yeah, he'll do whatever he needs to do. He'll dress up like an orc and face a bunch of other orcs. He'll kill a giant spider, whatever he needs to do. But when it comes down to it, he'd rather be back home He'd rather be back in his hobbit hole. He'd rather be
he wants to go back.
Yeah.
He wants to go back to his girl.
Yeah. He wants to be courting Rosie. He wants to be getting married. He wants to be starting a family. That's what he wants. But he's stuck in the middle of this really awful situation. And his whole motivation almost is, I'm doing this because I believe there's still good out there, and I want to get back to that good.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot to identify there with. And I think we all want to be like Sam, like just always good and reliable and strong. Most of the time, I'm probably not as reliable and good and strong as Sam, but I would like to try to be, I guess.
Yes, you are, Jakey Jake.
No, I don't think I am all the time. Like that's
All the time.
no, that's a lot of pressure.
You know what they say? Gamgees never say die.
That's true. They do say that. I've seen it out there.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
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 Samwise Goonie was always one of my favorites. So what are some other favorite sidekicks that you guys have out there that you feel like are great?
These sidekicks kind of get what do I want to say? They started off as just a way to have exposition, but they've turned into real powerful characters in their own rights. And I'm talking about the Doctor's companions.
Yes.
Right. So all the Doctor Who's have had various companions, various sidekicks, some with differing levels of success than others, but they all would help the Doctor grow in some capacity or another. I mean, there is some part of it that's like, having Amy Pond and Rory there, just two humans out in space, so that when some alien attacks, they can go, what happens? And the Doctor can go, well, this is what's going on. And well, okay, David Tennant wasn't Scottish in that, so I guess I'm messing this up. I'm so sorry.
Well, and David Tennant wasn't the Doctor with Amy and Rory. It was Matt Smith. Come back, Zach. Come back, though.
You're totally right. Gosh dang it.
But that's
and he's my Doctor.
And that's a big part of why the companions were there, was for exposition. Like, hey, this is what's going on. And so now the audience at home can know what's going on.
Yep. But then you saw like David Tennant's 10th Doctor with Rose and the way the character changed and developed there. Or Peter Capaldi with my favorite companion, Clara Oswald.
Wow. See, I feel like you're just trying to start a fight with people out there now.
Who's your favorite companion?
Oh, I love Clara. Clara is one of my favorites. I don't think that's a bad pick. I know there's a lot of people that don't really like Clara.
Well, then all those people, you know what they can do?
No, it's
they
fine.
can just go in the comments and let us know, because it's good to have this conversation. It's good to have a dialogue.
We want to hear.
We can do it respectfully.
I actually, with the 12th Doctor, I liked Bill a little bit better than Clara, and I'm sad that she only got one season.
You know what?
But I loved Clara too.
I really liked Bill. I did like Bill.
Yeah.
I loved Clara.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm in love with Clara.
She's got really big eyes.
Like a Disney princess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. No, I think the Doctor's companion.
I've only ever watched one season of the Doctor.
Okay.
The Doctor Who, and
it's not the Doctor Who,
lost.
but that's fine.
I mean, that's more than me, Collin. So
the Doctor's companions are a great example. I love that example, Zach, because really they do kind of bring him down to earth, or her now. But Clara is a really solid choice because Peter Capaldi's Doctor was so disconnected, and he really was very aloof. And without Clara there to humanize him, it would have taken a lot to like him.
It was the eyebrows.
Yeah, the eyebrows were amazing. But
that's a little inside joke for you Whovians out there.
it's always about the eyebrows with number 12. But like, he really was very disconnected. And I remember there's one episode where he refers to Clara as his carer. Like, she's there to care so he doesn't have to. And that really is the role that Clara plays. And she really connects him. And when he asks if he's a good man, I think, she's there to help him understand what he's done that is good. So I think Clara is a very solid and great companion. And most of the sidekicks or the companions in Doctor Who are very good. And respectable sidekicks. One of my favorites is during the Matt Smith years. I think Rory is fantastic because he's like a sidekick to a sidekick, but he's still like amazing.
Yeah, then he becomes an immortal robot centurion.
I know. And he just waits. He just sits there and waits for Amy. And it's just awesome. Yep, because I always think Rory's just a good guy and puts up with a lot. Because Amy clearly, like, there's moments where you're like, wait, does she like the Doctor? Does she have a crush on the Doctor? And then there's a whole season where he's like disappeared, like he doesn't even exist, Rory. Yeah. And then she remembers and he comes back and everything's great. But yes, I love the companions. That's a great example. And now we'll include Marlee and Collin in the rest of the conversation.
I guess.
So nice of you.
What are some other sidekicks that you guys really like?
So it's I feel like it's no secret that I'm a huge Marvel geek. I mean, just based on some of these things on my wall behind me. But I was really trying to think hard about like a favorite sidekick from especially like the MCU. There really aren't any sidekicks. I mean, there might be like kind of some, but not in like the traditional way. And then like, especially when we were talking about all these DC comics people just like a few minutes ago, it's kind of interesting how I feel like DC has, like DC is like, has a lot more like sidekicks. And then like Marvel doesn't. You guys notice that?
Yes.
Not in their movies. Sidekicks never really took off because they have like Iron Lad and the Patriot and Wiccan and all these guys that are in like the Young Avengers.
I mean, they exist, but like of course I'm like talking more like the MCU, but it's just kind of interesting.
I think you're talking MCU. Would you guys consider Falcon a sidekick?
I would consider Falcon a sidekick, and I guess War Machine as a sidekick.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would too. I think one of the big differences is you look at the time when a lot of the DC characters were coming out and when their sidekicks started to appear. You're looking at the 30s, 40s, and even into the 50s. And Marvel took a very different approach when they started taking off in the 60s in how they wanted to attract youth to read their stories. And the path they took was to include them in as the main characters. Spider-Man in Marvel would have been a sidekick in DC. A teenage boy with superpowers would have been a sidekick. But instead, Marvel said, no, we're going to make him the main hero in his story and in his series. The X-Men is another example. These are all high school age kids with superpowers. They would be normally more sidekicks in DC, but they are the main heroes in the X-Men. And so I think Marvel's approach, instead of doing sidekicks, was, hey, why don't we take these kids with all their inner drama and turmoil that you have as a teenager and make that part of the main story and make them the main characters instead of the sidekicks. And so that's why you don't really see a whole lot of the traditional sidekicks in Marvel comics or in the movies. I mean, they're out there. Bucky, of course, in the comics was very much a Robin-esque type sidekick, but we don't see that as much in the MCU. He's more,
which is a shame because Sebastian Stan could pull off those shorts.
You know it.
And so since like I was trying to like think of a Marvel character, I couldn't. I started to think a little more outside of the realm of superheroes. And one person that I thought of, and this is actually kind of on the same wavelength as Doctor Who, but Sherlock. I thought of Dr. Watson, John Watson. I think he is, I mean, I'm talking more specific to Sherlock series. I mean, of course, there are many iterations of Sherlock and Holmes. But for me, my favorite is Sherlock. And like, I really think that Watson, I mean, because he's intelligent in his own way.
Mhm.
And I feel like he kind of keeps Sherlock grounded a little bit. Like, he kind of tries to be like, hey, look, this is what's going on and this is what we need to do. Like, come back to reality a little bit, and then they together can, like, use their intelligence and, their whatever they need to do to solve the mystery, whatever's happening. But like, I think Watson is like, he's an excellent companion for Sherlock.
I agree. I think he does a lot of the same that the companions do for the Doctor and Doctor Who, and that Watson is us riding along with Sherlock, granted a much smarter version than us, but he's riding along with Sherlock and experiencing this through us. So he helps us understand from the human side, because Sherlock Holmes is so disconnected from humanity in a lot of ways. And so John Watson is kind of that bridge between us and Sherlock to help us experience that story from his point of view and understand it. But I love the John Watson character, and especially in the BBC series.
Martin Freeman.
Yeah, he does a great job as Watson. Great job. Someday, if they ever make new episodes, it would be great to see, but I doubt it.
Everyone's famous now, man.
Yeah, I agree. Benedict Cumberbatch is too. I know it's Cumberbatch. Sorry.
Do you know?
The Muffin Man,
Yes.
the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man. What? You said, "Do you know?"
Collin, do you have?
Okay.
You left it open.
Yeah,
Is that what that was? Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think so, but all right, we'll go with it. Sure.
So
Is that the Muffin Man that lives on Drury Lane? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Zach.
that one.
Let's move on.
the thing about what is the if give me a second. Gather my thoughts here.
Thinking.
It seems like we've come up with some specific reasons for sidekicks. They're either to, and I'm talking about early on in their inception, not like what they became, right? John Watson was the narrator of Sherlock stories, right? If you read Sherlock Holmes, it is John Watson telling the story. He's writing it down, right? So he's us in that capacity. In DC Comics, it became a way to sell to a younger audience. It was basically make the superhero but smaller. And I think you see that a lot in like Hanna-Barbera cartoons as well, with Little Gojira and Scrappy-Doo. They were just miniature versions of the big kids so that the little kids would like or relate to them. But I think that's so different now. I think now a good sidekick is, I know we use the term sidekick as almost like derogatory, but like a good sidekick is a partner to the character. Like you could take a series about John Watson, and I think people would watch it and appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, speaking of series and sidekicks, like if you watch the old series MASH, one of my favorites, and I know this is probably old for a lot of people. But
put on the ticker tape down there. Put down in the ticker tape. How old is Jakey Jake?
But MASH is one of my favorite shows, and the main character, the main hero in MASH is Hawkeye throughout the whole series, right? And his main sidekick, his main companion is Trapper John in the beginning. And, in the end, it ends up being BJ Honeycutt because Trapper John goes home. But they did actually make a whole series that ran for 7 seasons called Trapper John MD that was about this sidekick who was still interesting, who was still a great character. And he becomes the protagonist of his own story. And people were interested and watched it for 7 years. So I think that there is something there about people do find these sidekicks interesting because they're not just incapable. They're not just these lovable dorks, but they are capable companions. We see that we talked about Falcon being a sidekick to Captain America, and obviously Winter Soldier to some degree a sidekick.
And they're getting their own series.
They're getting their own series, and everybody's psyched about it. Now we get to see what they do on their own. And honestly, I love the Falcon character in the MCU. I think he's a great character, and I think he's very interesting in his own right, and he deserves his own series. So I think it's exciting, and I think you're right, Zach. I think we see them more when we think about sidekicks. We see them more as companions now instead of not being the punchline.
We actually see a lot more growth from them as well. You know, they're tossed in with a lot more responsibility than your more typical sidekick. And it's not as if they're all off on like their own side missions. They're all on this main mission, not doing any kind of like smaller task. It's more you know, diving in and going to attack Thanos or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, Spider-Man could be the sidekick for the Avengers in the MCU, but he's also the protagonist in his own right. He's got 2 movies under his belt now, and you know, with Tony Stark being gone, how does he move forward and how does he grow? And I think that's a big part of the story. So I think that's maybe we've gone back to what the original definition of sidekick was, according to Wikipedia, that's your close companion. It's not just, here's this kid that's tagging along with me, like we see in Sky High or in the Incredibles or even the classic Batman TV series. These are individuals in their own right who are very heroic and very capable. And sometimes it's hard to tell who the hero is, like Lord of the Rings, where we say, is Samwise really the main protagonist or is it really Frodo? I think personally, Treebeard. Yeah, absolutely. It's either, I think the whole story is really about Merry and Pippin. I don't know why everybody keeps talking about Frodo.
And the thing I think too is that, like, kind of all along this line is that the hero and the sidekick, you know, those terms respectively, like they complement each other too. Like they're partners, you know, they're kind of like almost 2 halves of a whole in a way. Cause like the kind of the theme that I have noticed, especially while I was thinking about different sidekicks that I really like from superheroes to other TV shows, is that like the hero, they tend to get into their head too much. And the sidekick, like, kind of keep, like I said a little bit before, like they kind of keep them grounded. They kind of keep them on track. And so they kind of need like that balance, and they complement each other. So that way they can like get the task done and they can use their skills, you know, with each other to take down the bad guy or whatever it is that they're doing. Yeah.
So there's a whole subsection of sidekicks we haven't even talked about.
Okay, let's hear it.
The Disney sidekicks.
Like the animal sidekicks?
Exactly. Like Abu or Olaf or Mushu. In these kind of capacities, the sidekick is there as comic relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily going to move the story along a whole lot. They're kind of really, they are just there as to be funny. Like, I mean, you look at
and cute.
And cute. I mean, Olaf, we love Olaf. Olaf is great, and probably more than a lot of other modern Disney sidekicks, he is more integral to the story than some of the other than they are.
I think if you took Olaf out, like the story could stay the same.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I think they could move forward, but he plays a larger role in the movies, I think, than like Rapunzel's little chameleon
Pascal.
Oh,
Pascal. Yep.
Pascal.
I mean, Pascal's always there, and it's funny. And then the horse,
Maximus.
Like, they're great sidekicks and they're really fun, but they don't really move. They're not as much of a main part of the story as I think Olaf is. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
But if you're talking about sidekicks with main parts of the story, let's talk about Mushu or Genie or Philoctetes. You know, these are guys who obviously Hercules needed to get his training. Aladdin's all centered around the genie.
Mm-hmm.
Simba just needed like guidance and to because he was just super lost. So Rafiki comes in.
Yeah. After Timon and Pumbaa ruined it for him. He was lost, and they just made him more lost. But they were funny.
They are funny to this day.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, Timon and Pumbaa were like the best part of the new Lion King movie.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I thought they were great.
Yeah, Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner really brought it.
Lines wrong. Yeah. Jeez.
What?
Some of the best Pumbaa lines weren't in it.
Oh.
No.
I'm okay with that. I like it when remakes don't just lift the same line from the movie over and over again. Did you hear that, Disney?
Really a remake.
Did you just say Lion King wasn't really a remake?
It was pretty much shot for shot.
Oh, yeah, that's a remake. That's like the laziest kind of remake.
You can't say something isn't something by saying that it is exactly the definition of that something that you said it's not.
Sure you can. I just did it.
All right. Well,
this pump really isn't red.
But I Disney sidekicks, they're very but I do think that they are necessary. I mean, like you said, you mentioned a bunch of them there. You've got the genie. Where would Aladdin be without the genie?
Stuck in a cave.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where would, Rafiki's a great example. Hercules, you've got Quasimodo without the gargoyles. Like, those sidekicks really are kind of there as kind of the like push in the right direction that the main characters need a little bit.
Then you have I guess with Pocahontas, she had the raccoon and the hummingbird. So I guess what we're coming up to is if you're a sidekick in a Disney movie, if you're an animal, you're useless. You're just there to make us laugh.
Well, but
like Turk and Tarzan.
Like Turk and Tarzan.
Oh.
But there is Sebastian in Little Mermaid.
He's not the sidekick. Flounder's the sidekick.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
What about Jiminy Cricket in Pinocchio?
Insects get a pass.
So that actually works for me because you look at the cricket in Mulan. I absolutely believe insects get a pass because the cricket was amazing. The lucky cricket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess other than insects,
villain sidekicks?
Iago?
Okay, villain sidekicks?
Just
Disney or just in general? Who?
Pain and Panic.
I love Pain and Panic.
Yes. From Hercules.
I panic.
Reporting for duty.
And then you've got the three hyenas for Scar in Lion King.
Banzai, Shenzi, and Ed.
Well, and again, these are all comic reliefs. Like even the villain sidekicks, like they're there to provide that comic relief too, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe that's Disney's way of like kind of lightening things up a little bit because we all know Disney can't get too dark.
Yeah.
So
we can kill all the parents, but we can't get too dark.
No, the villain can't be too bad, so they have to have these little silly sidekicks.
I love that all the parents always die. But
could you imagine if Judge Frollo had a funny little sidekick in
Hunchback?
Freaking Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, Hunchback of Notre Dame though is such a different movie, especially for the time frame for Disney, because it was really heavy compared to a lot of the other Disney movies in the 90s. Like it was dark. But yes, Judge Frollo with a sidekick would have been
like this funny little raven that follows him around. it, Frodo. And like throughout the whole movie, he's always like, yes, get him. But at the end, he's like, that's too much for me, man.
Does he actually talk in it?
Sexual assault is where I draw the line, mother.
No, there's no talking Raven.
I haven't seen Hunchback like in.
No,
decades.
there is no talking Raven. I'm saying this is
Oh, okay.
this is the sidekick
This is the sidekick he would have had.
Oh.
It was scrapped. The whole idea. It wasn't ever really an idea, but it should have been. It would have been great. Would have been great. Yeah. So Disney sidekicks, I think, are there largely for.
His name is Colbert.
Perfect.
So you know.
Perfect. I like it.
Colbert, find the gypsies.
Well, then you've got the hawk for the guy in Mulan, or the falcon.
Yeah. What's the guy's name?
Yeah. No, it's really bugging
Sean
me.
Yu?
Yes.
Oh
That
yeah.
sounds right. But so we've talked.
The only thing I know is all of China knows he's here.
Yes. And then the guy dies, so it's fine. So we've talked about our favorite sidekicks. We've talked about Disney sidekicks. Now we want to know from you, dear listener / viewer, what are some of your favorite sidekicks? Who did we miss? Who did we not cover? I noticed, and I wondered if it would come up, the Supernatural, the brothers. But how do you pick one as a sidekick and one as not the sidekick?
No,
I
I
guess
think
it
no.
depends on the episode.
Castiel is the sidekick to the brothers.
Castiel is the sidekick to the brothers.
Yeah, I
Good
actually
call.
thought of that one earlier because we have, if we're gonna have a talk about Doctor Who and Sherlock, we have to bring in Supernatural. Because don't you guys know the thing on Tumblr, Super Who Lock? Are you at all familiar? Okay, I'm like it's a three thing. Like you have to have all three.
Say it.
What, Super Who Lock?
It's
No.
a three-way.
Or a threesome.
Yeah, the minute he said "say it," I knew where it was going.
It's freaking Tumblr, man.
Oh, of course.
Oh yeah. But
I guess
no,
Tumblr's cleaned up its act recently, huh?
yeah. I actually thought of that
Lame.
one earlier.
You sounded
but-
really disappointed about that, Marlee. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Tumblr's
haven't
not
been
as
on
good as it used
Tumblr
to
in
be.
years.
Now my
I really-
mom's on Tumblr. It's like,
Once the old
Ah.
people start getting there. See, I'm not on Tumblr yet, so you're safe. So
TikTok's gonna expire in only a matter of time then.
TikTok.
That's okay. Just kidding, Zach.
It's not okay. Zach is on his way to becoming an international TikTok superstar.
I'm not. I haven't uploaded in like 2-3 weeks or something like that.
Oh, good. I don't feel bad because I haven't gone in and watched any of your videos for 2 or 3 weeks, but I try to keep an eye out for them. But
Wow.
there's a good friend reference.
Do you,
Who's the
Oh, yeah.
sidekick
do
and
you
friend?
sign like that? at all?
Joey.
Joey. I love
Duh.
Joey.
Joey and Phoebe are
Um,
the sidekicks and friends.
That's true.
Or,
It's absolutely true.
Duncan. Not
Duncan's
Duncan.
No,
Gunther?
Gunther. Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking. I was like, wait,
Gunther.
Duncan's not right.
Gunther's the sidekick and friends.
Poor Gunther.
Oh, he
Oh,
totally
geez.
is, though.
Well, hold on.
Never gets.
I
the
know we're
girl
about to
either.
end, but
Yes.
who are bad sidekicks? Who are the sidekicks that are just clearly there for marketing purposes? Like I think Scrappy Doo, terrible sidekick.
Yeah. And honestly, up until recently, within the last 10, 15 years, Superboy was a horrible sidekick because it was just like, well, where does he fit in? Because if you're the
Superboy.
last of Krypton, then anyway,
Hmm.
Superboy, I mean, he was just a younger version of Superman. And clearly just there for marketing.
But now
Um,
he's a younger, angrier version of Superman.
Yeah. And his costume, he wears the black t-shirt with the red S, like it's just cooler. Anyway.
I would say so in the Flash TV series, not
Careful.
everything else. Kid Flash, Wally West.
You don't think he's a good sidekick?
No, I think he was the worst sidekick. He's just, I don't know. He's just so annoying to me.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
He seems kind of pointless, and he just, I don't know. They also recently went down this whole like hippie version of him,
Mm.
and it's real creepy.
Huh. I haven't
I
seen
don't
like
know.
the last like 2 seasons.
Yeah, I dropped out of CW a long time ago.
I think
It's
another
hooked.
sidekick that was just there for marketing purposes, Slimer from Ghostbusters. Like in the original movies, in there for like 2 or 3 minutes. And that's it.
But then
and then in the series, he's everywhere. And it's
Mhm.
just
Mm.
marketing. He brings nothing to anything.
No, he just slimes everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
eats a lot.
Or Snarf in Thundercats.
Yes, that's another good one.
Snarf.
Yeah.
Like they just need to sell toys that can make noise. Snarf, Snarf.
Yeah. They're like, so we've got the cats all here. Which one is Cringer that turns into Battle Cat? Oh, well, how about Snarf? Yeah, and he doesn't turn into Battle Cat, so he's not even cool.
No, he's just Snarf.
He's just like the lame version of Cringer. It's
Yeah.
awful.
Yes.
Well, all right, guys.
Yeah.
Well, we
That's
want to
like-
hear from you guys, the listeners. Who are some of your favorite sidekicks? Who did we miss? Who should we have covered? We want to know. Leave your comments below the video. You can also send your feedback to an email address that we have. What is it again, Collin?
It's scrolling right below you.
I
What
know,
if
Collin.
they're not watching?
Feedback at stolendroids.com.
Perfect. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Go and follow Zach on TikTok. And yeah, thanks for listening and be good to each other.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Get out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
Take
bye.
us out. Take us out,
Goodbye
Paul.
now.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
The exit
Guys,
music.
let's
That's you.
listen to the outro.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. Bye.
Dun, 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 dun.
Bye, Felicia.
Adios, muchachos.
This has been a Stolendroids Media production.
Don't do it, Judge Frollo.